And we're live. We're back this week in Coverager for the week of July 17th. It's early Friday morning, pink shirt Friday as per usual. I'm in the Coverager headquarters, podcast headquarters in Naples, Florida. Avi is in the Coverager headquarters in its main headquarters, New York City. What's it like being back to New York?
I'm actually back in Queens. I used to live in Midtown Manhattan, but then it was time to start a family, so we moved to Forest Hills. But it's great to be back. Very different scene. Everybody here wears a mask. So many people outside. But yeah, it's hot, but it's good to be back.
Yep. So Sheffy's on assignment, literally. And I just want to kind of plug one of my next upcoming podcasts. This is my OIT mug.
Oh, nice.
Wendy sent over to me. So Wendy, thank you. I appreciate it. It's now my favorite mug. It holds a lot of coffee. So I can't drink a second. So I need one big first one and we're ready to go. So with that said, Avi, week of July 17th, actually there's more news. So I'm going to kick it over to you. What's the first topic of the day for this week in Coverager?
So not surprising. I think in the dull world of insurtech, Lemonade still stands out. Pet insurance.
Yep.
I think they timed everything together to kind of like really have the momentum with the IPO and the pet insurance, and because they were kind of under the radar. Not at all. Yeah,
me if they thought that far ahead. Yeah,
definitely. So pet insurance launched a new product. We put the flow out there, exactly the same flow as the renters, the chatbot-based questionnaire. You answer a few questions, you get a price. And I want to talk about two things today. I want to talk about loyalty, and I want to talk about price. So I am, or I was, a loyal pet plan policyholder. We had a pet insurance for since Heathcliff, our dog, was in this world for over 6 years. Great insurance provider, never had any problems. We actually had claims paid. We were very happy, and I actually tweeted and I said how happy I am and that I will stick with pet plan. I went in and I got a quote from Lemonade. It was almost 50% off, and I switched. And I feel bad. I really feel bad. But it was $27 versus 51, and it was $30, but with the renter's insurance that I have with Lemonade, I got a 10% discount, so it came to be 27. And $240 a year of savings. That's basically what you're looking at. And I tried to kind of like make the case for pet plan because they said that I will stick with pet plan, and I feel that I'm a loyal customer, but apparently not. But I was really struggling because when I looked at Lemonade versus pet plan. I said, okay, price aside, let's look at the coverage, because a lot of insurance companies, they say, well, don't focus on the price, focus on the coverage, get the good coverage. Lemonade's coverage was better. The limits was $20,000 versus $10,000. So now I started to think, and I got to a point where I said, you know what, it makes sense to switch to Lemonade. The price is better. So I went with them. And when I signed up, so my dog is 6. Okay, so he's considered to be, he's not a puppy anymore. He's usually Havanese. They live to be 15, 16, 17. But he's considered to be a little older. And it was interesting because I got the coverage from Lemonade, and then I get an email saying, hey, has Heathcliff went to the vet the past year? If so, send the medical records. If not, you'll need to take Heathcliff to the vet to get a checkup to make sure that everything is fine.
That's nice.
Yeah. And other pet players do the same. And this is, to me, a case where, unlike renter's insurance, this is adding more steps to the process. It could potentially hurt conversion rates for Lemonade. So if someone has to now take their pet to the vet, forget about it. I mean, and we still live in a world, and I can tell you, I was having this conversation. I remember the old days, it was common for dogs to sleep outside in their doghouse. They wouldn't sleep inside. Now with the tiny dogs that you have, 8 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, they share a pillow with their owner. and it's really like a different
They're part of the
demographic.
family.
Exactly. So um, it's not as straightforward as the renters, but the premium $27 versus $5 that you pay. Now I want to talk about the
For more
price.
coverage.
For more
Yeah.
coverage, now, the price is interesting, and we did some research on this topic. And my question is, how is Lemonade, so competitive in terms of pricing? So we looked at every pet insurance provider in the U.S. and to compare, 80% deductible, 80% co-insurance, $250 deductible. So I'm looking. I want to just to give you guys the prices so you'll understand what we're talking about. So, for example, Pet First monthly premium would be $69. Hartville would be $76. ASPCA, which is by Crum and Forrester, would be $58. Nationwide, which is probably the most popular player, is $77 a month. Petplan, which we've been with them for a while. When I got a quote for a 6-year-old Havanese, the price went to $145 a month. We're looking at Embrace Pet, $83 a month. Pets Best, $57 a month. True Panion was very expensive. Liberty Mutual, $100 a month. So Lemonade comes in with $27 a month. How do you think they are so competitive, Nick?
Okay, so they've either discovered some sort of value engine that the others couldn't, which meaning the others have expenses that Lemonade, because of their technology, are able to kind of carve out, or they don't mind taking the losses that come with this to get market share.
Yeah,
I
could be it.
don't
Yeah.
think it's the former. So I think with that many competitors, especially since pet insurance is, it's not that old, but I would classify it as a fairly new type of phenomenon.
Since the 80s.
Yeah, so I would bet that there are lots of players that have pretty streamlined tech stack. It's not something that I don't think AI can do very much about. So my guess is they're willing to take losses to get market share.
That's interesting because when you look at pet, so just so you know, across every pet insurance provider in the U.S., I would say 99%, the experience is great. Online, you buy online, you get the price online, you don't have to deal with anyone on the
Yep.
phone, or it's 100%, just a few questions, and that's it. So the experience is the same. Of course, Lemonade has that mobile app and chatbot and all that stuff, but exactly the same process. For me, when I look at data for pet insurance, and obviously there are some companies that are very transparent about the claims that they pay and all that, you first look at the breed. Obviously bulldogs suffer more than,
Yep.
let's say, Shih Tzu, for example. But the only other element of data that I would say is, noteworthy, that is, if, for example, if I live in Harlem, and in Harlem they have a lot of pit bulls, and I come in with my little Havanese and he likes to bark at big dogs, then I would expect to pay more because someone is probably going to eat my dog. And that's where I look at the data and I say, by zip code, what type of dog do you have? We know there's a lot of this type of dog in this area, maybe, but anything else, what kind of data do they have? That's the thing. But it's significantly lower the price, specifically in my case. And I wonder if it's the same across the board, because if it is, they're going to win over new customers. Because again, it's not, you look at State Farm versus Lemonade Renters Insurance, the price difference was $1, $2 a month. Not something to go crazy about, but 20, 30,
Yeah.
more, that could move people.
Yeah, I think pet insurance has. Sheffy talked about this when it was first announced that Lemonade was going to come out with pet insurance. It's got a lot of really nice characteristics to it. You just talked about how the loss statistics for the players that are here now. It's healthy. It's a profitable piece of business, and for lemon, and it doesn't have catastrophic exposure.
Yeah.
So that's another nice piece, which means there's probably very little reinsurance implication. Um, given the IPO, given the size of the market, and what Lemonade can accomplish, I think they could probably absorb the early losses fairly easily on this. Until they did, make a change. I think more importantly, as a renter's rider predominantly, pet is a very nice bundle add-on, very nice touch. Now, if their thesis holds, and you're going to have basically a society that has been trending for a long time, closer to renting versus homeowner buying, it's a nice touch, right? There are a lot of renters in urban areas. Grab the renters and then bundle other solutions to them as you sell them the renter's policy. Um, that's perfect. But I think the bigger thing that I keep thinking about, it's funny because I was thinking about them this morning when I was going for my walk, was that I was thinking of value and growth. Lemonade's not going to have any problem growing. It's the question I keep having about them is they're not going to be able to climb the ladder because the solutions they have will not work as they climb up the ladder. So as they get into homeowners, homeowners is a completely different game than renters insurance because you have all of those catastrophic losses. So their AI solutions aren't going to work. It's not going to help them. And as a capital light business, I have a feeling, Avi, they're going to be stuck in this sort of world, right? Renters, pet, life, and there's nothing wrong with that. It actually, if they would just kind of sort of go in that direction, which I think they will, before they try to climb the ladder, I think there's going to be a lot there, and they can be hugely successful. It's I just don't know how they capture value. And deliver it to their stakeholders. This capital light structure is something that's starting to irritate me because capital light means that they're not going to be they're too dependent on their reinsurance to support the business. I don't think they can climb up the ladder because they'll be even more dependent on reinsurance. I think they're going to be stuck in the sandbox with the pet, life, renters, small transaction, small to medium sized losses where their technology can really reduce costs, really reduce friction, and they can just be a marketing engine for stuff like that. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and it sits well with what they did so far. Really, they've stayed away from very complicated products that, high premiums, high losses. And we talked about this, of course. But the problem is that a lot of folks in the industry, they look at Lemonade as that they discovered something that no one else
Yeah.
has, and they've executed way better than anyone else. It's yet to be seen. As we said, that they're not going into places where they know they won't have the advantage. I think with pet, it's an interesting market because it's a huge market in terms of how many pets are out there. But again, if you have an old pet, you're not paying $100 a month to insure that pet. That's one. Two is a lot of people don't even know what pet insurance is. They don't get they don't understand what's behind it. And because they do take their pet to the vet and you have to pay and that's not covered, and you could buy a wellness package. But then if you do the math, then it's kind of the same, even cheaper. Just go to
It's
the vet. Yeah.
most of these kinds of coverages. I always think of like dental and vision,
Yeah.
which is something they could go into as well. Um, I always think of those as like those are our cash flow volatility solutions, right? At the end of the day, you're probably breaking even, but the insurance is helping kind of smooth out these large out of pocket expenses that you may not be prepared for. The insurance will smooth it out, but when you start to tally how much am I paying versus how much am I getting over the long run, I think the vast majority of people break even or lose a little bit
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
doing that. And I think this is one of those these products, tenant and pet insurance, it fits into that category
Yeah.
where It's really just to smooth your cash flow, so you don't have any large out of pocket losses. But at the end of the day, most people, the vast majority of people, will not have will lose money. They'll pay more than they'll get, which is the whole point of insurance. But it avoids like the super large losses. That's where I think Lemonade's going to struggle getting into like homeowners, right? They write in Texas, they write in New York, they'll be exposed to hurricane, tornado losses, and all of a sudden you could have a single claim that's millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's going to be problematic, and where I think their capital light structure is really going to hinder them in moving forward. But it's you mentioned that pet is a big market. It's big, it's growing, and for customers that aren't aware of it, who better than Lemonade, right? They're sort of the masters of marketing, the masters of the message. I think, the way that they sort of think about marketing dovetails very well with the type of customer that would buy renter's insurance and say, well, I have a dog, I have a cat. Why wouldn't I bundle that in, save 10%?
It's definitely the younger generation, and again, those that now, and I could tell you, I don't consider myself a sophisticated customer, but um, when we went to the vet, they told us, "Oh, what, you're feeding your dog kibble, the dry dog food? Like, oh, that's bad." I mean, and I have this. I always say, if it's very cheap and it's very big, it's probably not good for you. And those are very cheap, very big bags. And we used to pay $20, $30 a month, and it would last for like a month and a half. But my dog wouldn't touch it. He would wait until like 12 at night. Then he would eat a little bit, and that's it. Then we switched to raw food, which is the new trend. And there's the farmer's dog now is in the
Yeah.
space, raised a lot of money, and that costs you $120 a month. That's like quadruple the cost, more sometimes. And that's the type of customer that will go and also get that
Yes. Yeah.
pet insurance. It's their audience, the millennials, Gen Z, the younger generation. But again, now you're talking about a product that's not $5 anymore, because $25 a month, $30 a month. They say it starts from $12. Depends on the dog. Obviously, bigger dogs usually pay more in premiums because they.
Yeah. They have
So
shorter lifespans. Yeah.
exactly, but I think it's you have to pay attention to Lemonade and the space.
Completely.
They have the, but again, it's a lot of it. We talked about it. They have the money now. They had the money before. Um, it's a very creative market. You can do a lot with it. The question is, will they do more? Because everybody now is looking at pet in general, the market. There's so much going on. Maybe they'll acquire a company in the space, which I think would be smart for them. A pet food brand, for example, would be very smart for them to do. That creates the stickiness. But it's interesting, and the price play, to me, that's the biggest thing. And as you said, they probably have the confidence to go in and say no catastrophes in pet insurance.
Yep.
We can do this, and that's their ultimate advantage now. And they won one customer, which again I thought it was loyal. I feel bad for Pet Plan, but you know what? That's insurance. That's the problem with insurance. It's not about Pet Plan or anyone else. It's the product. You can't justify paying too much.
So that gets to again, back to the capital light structure that they've specifically touted as their sort of model for how they're
Advantage,
going to
yeah.
run this, is that if you're capital light, you can't be the low cost provider. It's not going to work, right? You're likely to accumulate a whole bunch of losses and deliver those. It's to be the low cost provider, you have to be the Geico or the State Farms, or with hundreds of billions of dollars of assets to support it, because it's not just underwriting. You can support underwriting losses with the float and the interest income on your assets. So it's I agree with you. So I was listening to I think it's the NGO podcast, which is about InsureTech. They interviewed Caribou Honig and Rob Galbraith and a whole bunch of people about the IPO. And I think half the people that they interviewed talked about how there's a skepticism about what it is that they're doing, but an excitement. But it's almost like, well, one way that they can get to where they want to go is if the stock price stays where it is, it's currency. They can buy their way to success. And I think you're right. Like I still struggle to see how they climb the ladder in insurance. I almost think they don't have to do that. Like you started to laterally adjacent markets of pet wealth. Pet health. Health is wealth, but pet health. There's a lot of different adjacent areas from with tenants, with pet. We know that they've already formed a life agency, so my guess is they're going to go into life insurance. They could go into vision. Like there's a lot of different ancillary adjacent markets that they could tack along where I think their technology could be really beneficial in reducing friction. And insurance, as we've discussed, Avi, insurance could be an abstraction. Insurance could just be either a loss leader in to these other things, or it could
Right.
be, an upsell, or these other products could be an upsell. That is much more exciting to me than Lemonade trying to disrupt insurance. Just as you're talking about it, it rings true to me that that's the area they should go in. That fits their market better. The way the customers engage with them. So I'm sure there's a lot more to come with that. But I think it's exciting that they're doing this, and they
Yeah,
converted you.
yeah.
They converted you of all people.
Well, I bought renters insurance just so we can, keep track of what they're doing with the app and all that. But the pet, and again, Sheffy told me, what are you doing? Like you said, you're going to stick with pet plan. They paid for your claims, and then I look, it was $51 a month versus 27, and it's hard to justify,
It's cheaper with more coverage.
Yeah,
Loyalty only goes so far.
that's a sad statement, but it's true.
So
Yeah.
you've said it a million times. In insurance, I think in the majority of cases, price is the biggest motivating factor for this. And so I think, again, Lemonade seems to have their finger on the pulse for this, and it'll be seen, how successful they are. What was topic number 2 for this week?
So topic number 2, actually, it's I like that topic, advertising. So we put a little tidbit there this week that Next Insurance, Huckleberry, Health IQ are looking to bring people to manage direct mail. And Nick, I'm sure you get a lot of direct mail. I don't know, you moved to Florida. I don't know if you're getting more now or less.
It's amazing how quickly it followed me. It's like, how do these people know? It's almost like the Secret Service is working directly with the direct mail companies.
Well, USPS, I believe they provide direct mail advertising service, so they know. But what are your thoughts? Like when you get direct mail, when you get a postcard, what do you do?
I throw it away.
You throw it away immediately? Okay. So I leave it on my desk.
Throw it away immediately is strong. I will glance at it.
So
they have like a second to grab my attention, or else it goes into the trash. So I'm mostly looking for, hey, where's my IRS check? I'm looking for all of the states send me my insurance licenses, so I have to keep an eye on those. So you got about a second to grab my attention, and if you don't, then you're likely going into the recycling bin.
So you're probably very decisive. The way I do it, I take it, I bring it home, because my wife, she goes crazy if I throw out some Bed Bath & Beyond 20% off or whatever. So I bring it home and I put it on the kitchen island, and I leave it there for could be a week, could be 2 weeks. And sometimes I go back and I look at it and it's there. And it has kind of that, I see it. So sometimes I get from Geico, I get from Progressive, I got one time from Haven Life. And now you're looking at these insurtech companies, which are digital first, that's the promise. And they're going into direct mail, which according to people in the industry, they say how the conversion rates are actually better. Now, there's the thing is, when you go with direct mail, you're not reaching customers that actually expressed interest and said, hey, we're looking, but you want to generate that interest, which I think is interesting because the way digital is today with Google and Facebook and ad blockers and all that, and TV with DVRs, you fast forward through commercials, you really need to find some alone time with a customer, a potential customer. And I feel like direct mail is actually a good solution if you're able to stand out. But now everybody's going to go into the space, and I feel like it's going to be more competitive.
Yeah.
And especially for the big carriers, because Geico and Progressive, State Farm as well, I think they sent me a happy birthday. They know my birthday. But what do you think? You think it's going to be good for them?
So we had our pre-conversation. I feel like it's back to the future because when I first got into insurance, this dating myself very well pre-internet, or just as the internet was starting to emerge, and that was the way. Direct marketing via mail, or direct marketing via classified ads or that stuff. That was kind of the way to go. I don't have a strong opinion about it. I would use myself as a use case and say you really need to stand out. So, there you have to. It's funny you talked about Bed Bath and Beyond with your wife. My wife always gets stuck with like when she'll tell me on our kitchen island, hey, there's a bunch of stuff for you, and I'll go through it and it's all junk mail. But to her, it's like it looks so official. It looked
Yeah.
like it came from the government, so she didn't throw it away. And I'm just like, can't you tell that this is direct mail? So they're using a lot of the same gimmicks, and I think you have to find a way to stand out. So I'm not against it. It's to me, if you're going to do it, marketing to me is you can't be the needle in the haystack. You have to figure out a way to stand out, and that's really hard to do, especially if you're right. And it's like a lot of insurtech or insurance players are gravitating towards direct mail. How do you stand out? Everyone's using the same gimmicks, and I don't know. I will reserve judgment on it. I think with marketing, you should turn every stone, and
Yeah,
find something that works.
yeah, I agree. I think with direct mail, there's a few elements you want to consider. The first is time. So it's not that the second someone takes out something out of their mailbox, they will convert immediately. You could look at weeks where people will have it lying around somewhere, and then they finally get to it. So that's the first challenge. Like you have to have patience. It's not going to work immediately for you, and you're kind of you're blind. You don't know what's going on. The second element, and this is to me kind of like a bigger picture, what does this say about insurtechs? Because I feel like a lot of carriers, they looked at insurtechs as a way, well, they know their way around in the digital world. They
Yep.
know how to convert customers digitally. And now you're looking at them, and I can tell you Metromile, they spent a lot of money on direct mail, a lot, and you come in and now you also go that route. So a carrier is going to say, well, wait a second. So do you not know how to get customers online? Or is it just not profitable to get them online?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the second we see Lemonade going the route of direct mail, that's
You'll
when
know.
we'll know there's
You'll know.
trouble.
Yeah.
There's trouble. This has all been, it's not working. Run back home or run back to your
Yeah.
conferences and let's try to figure out something new.
That's a
That's
very
to me
good
what it
point.
is. Yeah,
That's a very
that's
good
what
point. Like,
yeah.
so when a lot of the venture capital that's coming in is they're working with the understanding that these digital players will be digital throughout all their entire DNA, including marketing. And you're right. If they're like needing to go to direct mail on their hands and knees, basically going to direct mail, that is an issue, right? Like that means that there's only so much water in that digital marketing well, and they've tapped out, and now they need another source of leads or whatever. we'll be really in trouble if we go back to like the 50s or 60s, where hey, come to this office and we'll give you a toaster like the banks used to. um, let's hope we don't go that far, but yeah, that's to me, I hadn't thought of it that way. I would have instinctually,
Yeah,
I probably would have wanted to try that anyways, because that's how I cut my teeth when I first got into insurance. But for these digital players, that is a kind of a strong signal.
I think you want to do whatever works for you. And I remember getting a direct mail, I believe it was from Casper, the mattress brand. And here's the problem with digital. The problem, and we talked about this, if you look at the differences online and offline. So there's a limit. Like Google tells you every month how many people approximately search for this search term. That's what it is. No more. You can't get more people to look unless you do other tactics. But that's what you can expect when you do a search campaign. You'll know 100,000 people search a month. Maybe you'll get some of that. And there's a lot of players, not enough demand. So direct mail is a way for you to generate that demand, because maybe someone didn't know, or he was lazy, or something like that. And what it does, I think it gives you alone time with the customer. But like in the real world, even when you do that display advertising on Facebook and Instagram, consumers are very goal oriented. Like if I'm looking at burgers, I'm not applying for life insurance. I don't care. Leave me alone. I'm still scrolling my feed. I don't have time for this. But when I take that direct mail and I put it where I put it, and I said, wow, this is nice design, or it has something nice on it, it sinks in. You think about it, and maybe when the time is right, you'll give that company a chance. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Well,
But
that's marketing, right? Like the
that's marketing. Yeah.
yeah. So it's as I think Peter Thiel said in his book Zero to One. It's small, subtle messages that get people moving through a funnel, right? Like you have folks who are completely indifferent. They don't even know they have a problem. They don't even know that solutions exist. All the way to desperate people who are ready to whip out a credit card to buy. And you need various marketing messages to potentially move them incrementally. Like, with insurance, like for homeowners insurance, you're not going to get them to write a check when they see your marketing. You want them to do something to move them one step closer to considering your product as a solution. So, as you were talking about that, I started to think, what if the problem is that digital marketing is too expensive? What if like the
So
customer acquisition costs, if you use a Facebook, Google style marketing methodology, is just way too expensive, and
oh,
direct mail is actually cheaper?
it is. And if you look at retailers, the one that are at the digital forefront, and where they look at it, they tell you Facebook has become expensive, Instagram has become expensive, Google has become expensive, and everybody's looking for other ways. And insurance, I always feel, is kind of late to the party, and they don't know. There's still,
Yeah,
there's
no, it's
still
true. It's
companies
true.
out there, even
Yep.
insurtechs, that are now raising money, and they believe they can acquire customers digitally. Listen, if you want to acquire a customer digitally, you really need to stand behind your 52% promise off. That's what you need. And if you don't deliver on that, you're screwed. But it has become more expensive. Direct mail, obviously, as more are going to come in, then the service providers are going to say, well, we have demand. We can also increase the prices. But this is the problem with insurance. And this is, I always get back to it. They don't think outside of the box. They don't say, well, maybe we can do something else. Maybe the direct mail money, we could put it into creating a new product, a new service where consumers actually want, and they will look
Yeah.
for it. You look at Quibi, for example, the streaming service that now everybody's making fun of. Um, they had a lot of downloads. They had a lot of downloads in the millions, because people like to watch shows. Now, of course, they say 90% canceled because it was free. And then when it started to cost money, 90% left, and they're in a very bad place. But there are products and services where just being out there, consumers will look for you, and your customer acquisition cost won't be as high. With insurance, you're offering the same product. this type of postcard, that type of postcard. Unless you do like a really nice postcard, for example, I'm thinking, what can you do to stand out? So maybe like a sticky postcard. When someone holds it, it sticks to their hands and they can't get it off. You're going to get the customer
This
very upset,
the super
but
glue postcard.
yeah, something like that. But uh,
It
that's
it comes down to creativity. Honestly,
yeah,
it comes down to it's marketing, right? It's the ADA, right? Attention, interest, desire, action, right? Like there's there are no shortcuts to this.
no,
Like that folks that are listening to this, I think buy a book or start researching on how customers buy, why customers buy. Look at that process, right? And I think it's very enlightening to step out of yourself and just examine how people make decisions on what they buy and what they find valuable. And insurance is very different. The way they analyze it, the way they kind of run through the budgeting process in their mind, they're thinking through this. I was thinking of this as I was walking over here. It's it's the one product where um, when all is said and done, you can buy insurance, and years later, you never filed a claim, and you feel like you didn't get your money's worth,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Just like,
yeah.
oh, I didn't use it, and that's not the point of the product, and it just makes it such a tough sell because of that. People feel some uh, compelling reason that they have to, like, if I'm not using it, then it was wasted money. I think that's a problem. The marketing on how to get people to get people to make that decision is really difficult. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, I think I mean you're right, and it just I think it's interesting to see really the next all those companies coming in, gonna get crowded, but they know if Next is doing it, if Healthy Key, if Huckleberry, Metromile, of course, Ladder, they know that digital is not working as well, so pay attention to this space and expect to get
yeah.
some nice direct mail.
And I'm sure Coverager will be right on top of that. So, for everyone that's watching, those were the two topics for today. For Sheffy, for Avi, this is our fade music this week in Coverager. Avi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was a good conversation that we had. There'll be a ton more, I know, on Lemonade, and I can't wait to follow what happens with direct mail. Uh, Soon there'll be someone's going to be giving away a toaster. It's bound to happen. We're going to go all the way back to the future. So
I can use a toaster.
yeah, okay. Hey everyone, stay safe. As per usual, just wear a mask. It's not that big a deal. I don't know why we're all struggling with this. If you're going outside, you're going to be in front of people, respect the boundaries and just wear a mask. It's not that hard. It's not that big a deal. Avi, thank you so much.
Have a great weekend.
Okay. See you next week, everyone.